Hello, my name is Phil Richardson, and I'm the author of the book before you, Messiah's Jubilee. Messiah's Jubilee is a second edition of my first book that I wrote back in 2015 titled September 2021. Before you is a picture of the back of the book, and so what I'd like to do is briefly go over this. When I go over it, you'll get an idea of what's in the book. Today's topic of discussion is Messiah's Jubilee connection to 2021 and 2029. And welcome back. Okay, let's get into this. So Messiah's Jubilee is a major revised version of my 2015 published book, September 2021. In this second edition, I unveil and decipher a hidden Jubilee, the Messiah's Jubilee, and Shemitah pattern that directly links to the prophecies of the 9th and 12th chapters of the book of Daniel. Discover why the 7-week prophecy, following the 62 weeks prophecy, began precisely on June 7th, 1967, as a double prophetic fulfillment, the very day that Jerusalem was released back to Israel and the Jewish people during the Six-Day War. Discover how and why the 69th week ended on Yom Kippur 2015, which in turn began the 70th week of the Daniel timeline, and why the completion of the 70th week will initiate the final week of man's rule on the Feast of Trumpets, September 2021, with the sighting of the crescent new moon out of Jerusalem with the sound of the last trump on the feast where no man knoweth the day, the hour. So the feast that no man knoweth the day, the hour is the feast of Yom Teruah, or how we say it in America is a Feast of Trumpets. It's also known as to the Jewish people as Rosh Hashanah, or the New Year, the civil New Year. So let me just break this down a little bit. First I'd like to do is just go over some scripture with you. I'm going to go through this real quick. 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city. This is from Daniel, right down here, Daniel 9, 24 to 27. So again, 70 weeks. This is super key. 70 weeks are determined for your people and your holy city. Your people is the Jewish people, and the holy city is Jerusalem. To finish transgressions, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up visions and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Note therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until the Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Okay, that's very important. There's a distinction there. There's 7 weeks and there's 62 weeks. The street shall be built again and the wall even in troublesome times. And after 62 weeks, super key, Messiah shall be cut off. Okay, but not for himself, and the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood, till the end of war desolations are determined. Then he shall confirm a covenant with the many for 1 week. Okay, so I believe that the he represents the Antichrist. Shall confirm a covenant with the many. I believe the many stems from the United Nations Security Council, more likely, and for 1 week is 7 years. So whenever you see weeks in Bible prophecy, that's 7 years. So the 1 week here, 7. The 7 weeks here is 7 times 7, that's 49 years. So that would be 49 years. And again, this is 7, that 1 week is 7. Okay. So the Messiah's Jubilee had an exact beginning right here. It began June 7th, 1967. And the reason it began there is because that was when Jerusalem was released back to the Jewish people, to the dominion of the Jewish people for the first time in over 2,500 years. The last time that the Jewish people had control of Jerusalem was under the Babylonian siege on Jerusalem back about 2,500 years ago. So this is really significant. You can see how from the prior scripture I just read you, it says 70 weeks are determined for your people and your holy city. Well, Jerusalem is the holy city and the people are the Jewish people. So 70 weeks are determined. Okay, that's super important. I'm going to get into that. Here we go. That's the starting time right there, June 7th. And then the ending was right here on Yom Kippur, September 23rd, 2015, which initiated the 70th week. And why did it initiate the 70th week? Because after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off. That's when their prophetic clock stopped. So we've been in the church age, and I have a theory here that the church age ended precisely on June 7th, 1967, and that we have entered on June 7th, 1967, we entered what I call the Messianic age. Okay? So this is what that means. After 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off. So when Yeshua, the Messiah, died on the cross, that's when the prophecy stopped, because it stopped at the day he was cut off, and that's when the day he died. So we have the church age. Well, what is 62 weeks plus the church age equal? That's a big question. Let me write that out. 62 weeks plus the church age. Church age equals 62 weeks. That's the answer. So that means if the church age ended on June 7th, 1967, that means June 7th, 1967 would have been day one. It would have been 62 weeks plus day one. And that also means that at the end of this week right here, that would have been the beginning of the 64th week. So you do 62, 63, 64, 65, and so on until you get to the 69th week, which finalized exactly on Yom Kippur, September 23rd, 2015. That means that began the 70th week. Okay? So instead of saying 7 plus 62 equals 69 weeks, we got 62 plus 7 weeks, which equals 69 weeks, which ended, again, Yom Kippur, 2015. So September 23rd, 2015 was day number 1 of the 70th week. Okay? Right now on the timeline, we are right here. We entered the 6th year of the 70th week back in September of 2020. And that will end, or will the 7th year will begin exactly on September 2021. Right there. Let's read the rest of this over here. Let me clear the screen. And let's read the bottom half, and we'll touch on some of this. It says, additionally, discovered the identity of a powerful world leader who resided as chairman and president of the UN Security Council World Government back on Yom Teruah 2014. And so that is right here. That is Yom Teruah 2014. That would have began the exact day that began the 2,550 days. I'm going to get into that. That initiated the Chapter 12 timeline of 2,550 days that will highlight not only Shavuot 2021, right here, which is 1,335 days from the Revelation 12 sign in 2017, but the appointed Feast of Trumpets and Yom Kippur 2021. Finally, discover how the dates mentioned in the book are not a result of my personal opinion research, but were confirmed through the use of 2 luni-solar calendar systems. These 2 lunar calendar systems, the Jewish calendar and Torah calendar, when both in symmetry with 86 lunar moon cycles over 7 years, point to only 5 appointed feasts over a span of 21 years. That being Shavuot 2018, and there's a fulfillment of that, by the way. The fulfillment was the opening of the U.S. consulate in Jerusalem on 5/14/18, precisely 70 years from when Israel was declared a nation on 5/14/48, May 14/48, which was Shavuot, by the way. That happened on Shavuot when the nation of Israel became a nation. Well, became a nation on one day. So there's a Shavuot to Shavuot connection, 2018 to 1948, which happened to be 70 years precisely. Actually, it's pretty amazing. So the 5 appointed feasts over a span of 21 years is Shavuot 2018, Shavuot 2021, Shavuot 2026, and Yom Teruah, or Feast of Trumpets, Yom Kippur 2021 and 2029 as highly significant future feasts. Finally, discover the relationship between these future appointed feasts and the true Messiah of the Jewish people. Okay, let's get into this a little bit. So what am I talking about over here? First of all, what is this term of the symmetry between two lunar solar calendars? Well, let me pull this up so you have an idea. Okay, so I just pulled up the symmetry between the two lunisolar calendars. This is the graph I was referring to that identify this right here, identifies 2021, 2026, and 2029 as key prophetic dates. Okay. So basically what this is a convolution, not a convolution. This is a symmetry between TorahCalendar.com and the Jewish calendar that is through Hebcal. Here we go. This is Hebcal.com and the TorahCalendar.com. And so what happens is you have these symmetry dates. You have basically the 7-year period that's really super significant is 2014 to 2021. And then the other significant date is 2022, 2029. This is all mathematics, by the way. And this came about through the Daniel chapter 12 timeline formula that you see right here. Let me pull up that graph while we're at it. Okay, so this is the formula. This is what I call the formula, the Daniel chapter 12 timeline graph. And so let me just go over this with you real quick. So there are some verses in the 12th chapter of Daniel, which is really significant. Let me pull that up real quick. So here it is. This is Daniel chapter 12. This is the entire chapter. Now at that time, Michael shall stand up the head and is standing over the sons of your people. There should be a time of distress, such as never since there was a nation until that time. And at that time, your people shall be delivered, every one who is found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall wake up, some to everlasting life, and some to reproach everlasting abhorrence. So this is speaking of what I believe our generation, what's coming up really quick. Let me point to the 3 key dates. The first one here is the appointed times and half time. This is 1260 days. The other date is 1,290 days. And then the third is 1,335 days. So back to this. We just read that scripture from Daniel chapter 12, 7, 11, and 12. So what's really significant about those days, here we have it here, 1,260 plus 1,290, and then you have 1,335 days. What's really remarkable is you add the 1,260 plus the 1,290, it comes to 2,550 days. That's not the remarkable part. The remarkable part is that there is a connection to the feast days. There's a connection to Yom Teruah, which is the Feast of Trumpets, and there's a connection to Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And this is over a 7-year period of time. You have the Shemitah pattern, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the Shemitah is the 7th year. Okay, it's just like the days of the week. It's just like the creation model, where you have 6 days and then the rest on the Sabbath, and then this might be the same as a thousand millennial reign right here. This is another way of looking at this. Tishri 1 plus 2,550 days equals Tishri 10. Yom Teruah plus 2,550 days equals Yom Kippur. The civil new year plus 2,550 days equals the Day of Atonement. And what's really cool is you have the 86 moon cycles plus 10 days equals 2,550 days. Let me show you what that means. Here's another. This is within my book here, Messiah's Jubilee. And I make a connection here to the 86 moons plus 10 days equals 2,550, just so you understand the significance of the 2,550 days. Again, that's 7 years. And it's also 86 moon cycles plus 10 days. So a moon cycle has 29.53 days. Times it by 86 moon cycles plus 10 days equals 2,550 days. That's significant of that. Okay. So I made a video on this already. It's on my YouTube channel. And I go through this in detail, the symmetry between the two lunar solar calendars, and I describe what I did. This is a mathematical equation following the formula. Again, this is the formula right here of the Yom Teruah dates, the Shavuot, and the Yom Kippur. But when you do the math, this is really all mathematical. The mathematical dates highlight 2014 to 2021 as a significant 7-year period of time, and also 2022 to 2029 as a significant period of time. The 5 dates are the Yom Kippur, so it's Yom Teruah to Yom Kippur, 2021, 2029, and then the Shavuot dates are 2018, 2021, and 2026. All these dates line up. The Torah calendar and the Jewish calendar line up, and that's why there's a double yes for those, as well as this right here. Okay, I won't get into, again, there's a video on this that describes that. So what I want to do also is I want to show you, after I wrote my book, I went ahead and I redid this or reconfigured this just using the Jewish calendar. And I'm going to pull that up right now. Okay, so this is the Jewish calendar and the 5 appointed feasts out of 21 years. So this is strictly the Jewish calendar that I used, okay? The only thing I did differently is, again, I applied, so let's review this. I applied the formula to the Jewish calendar. Again, this is the formula down here. We went through that already, okay? And what I did is, for the Yom Teruah dates, instead of using the Jewish calendar on those dates, because it's the Metonic lunar moon cycle, it's an outdated system that adds an additional month every 6 to 7 times out of 19 years. So what I did is I went to torahcalendar.com, which is the exact conjunction of the moon, sun, and earth, and use those conjunction dates. So they are the exact conjunction dates. So once I did that, once I used those dates, what popped up are these dates here out of 21 years. There's only 5 of them out of 21 years. Again, it's Yom Kippur 2021, Yom Kippur 2029. It's also Yom Teruah as well. You got that plays into the 10 days of awe. So those conjunction dates are 2014 to 2021, 2022 to 2029. And the Shavuot dates, 2018, which was fulfilled. We talked about that. Jerusalem established as capital of Israel on 5/14/18 at the U.S. consulate in Jerusalem. That is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy. That is a Shavuot connection to Shavuot connection in 1948. So it's a 70-year connection from one Shavuot to another Shavuot, Shavuot is Pentecost. Okay, that's just one of the feast days. So the other Shavuot date is still future, is 2021. And I give my opinion of what that may signify, and I think it will signify it, and I'll get into that a little bit. And then we have another Shavuot 2026 connection. Actually, I'm going to give my opinion to 2029 and 2021. I don't know if I'll do it on this video. I might. There's a lot of information here, however, to digest and go through. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so let's go over those symmetry dates one more time. So this represents Shavuot 2018. This represents Shavuot 2021. And that's May. We're coming up to that pretty quick. That's 2 or 3 months from now. Here's the other Shavuot, 2026. And then the 2,550 day connections is September 2021 and September 2029. So that's represented on the graph here. And I go into that at the end of the chapter of my book, talk about what I believe those represent. We've already, again, this was fulfilled 2018. And I'm going to go into that a little bit. This one right here is Shavuot 2021, which is in May of 2021. And so it is 1,335 days from the Revelation 12 sign in the heavens. You guys remember the Revelation 12 sign in the heavens, I would imagine. If not, here's a picture of what that looked like, an image. So this is the Revelation 12 sign. And just as a briefly, this happened on September 23rd, 2017. This was Yom Teruah. This was Yom Teruah, or the Feast of Trumpets. So the Feast of Trumpets represents a rapture type of scenario. It's also the day, it's also the feast that no man knoweth the day, the hour. So the Revelation 12 sign, let's read it. Now a great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, right there, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. So Leo, the constellation Leo, has 9 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 primary stars. And then we have 3 roaming stars. 1, 2, 3. So that makes 12. So that's the garland of 12 stars. And then being with a child, she cried out in labor and pain to give birth. So the child is represented by Jupiter. Jupiter is known as the king planet, or it's known throughout the ages as the messianic planet because of the large size, is largest of the planets in the solar system. So what was really unique about Jupiter during this time, you ever seen the videos, it's pretty amazing. What Jupiter does, it goes through retrograde motion. So about 9 months prior to these stars showing up, it went through the celestial womb and did what's called like a retrograde motion, went back and forth, and then exited the womb about 9 months later. So it's pretty remarkable. Anyway, let's move forward. Let's move on. So what does the Revelation 12 sign represent? Again, 1,335 days from the Revelation 12 sign. So the Revelation 12 sign represents tribulation. It's a tribulation sign. So the 1,335 day connection here is a tribulation sign, and it has to do, again, all these feasts have to do with Jerusalem. So we have Jerusalem here, which was the U.S. consulate, and we have a 1,335 day connection to the Revelation 12 sign, which is Yom Teruah. Okay, so we have these Yom Teruah to Shavuot and Yom Teruah to Yom Kippur over 7-year connections. So this represents what I believe it represents either the Psalm 83 war or the Ezekiel 38 war, attack against Israel. That's what I believe it is. And I go over that. I'm going to make a separate video on that. But just to let you know where we are on the timeline. So we are here on the timeline. We're actually in the 6th year of the 70th week. So this is the 70th week. Year 6 we entered. We're like 3 or 4 months into it, and this represents the beginning of the 7th year of the 70th week. So this event right here is Yom Teruah 2021. It's a very significant date, and I go into that as well as future videos. And let's just go through this one more time real briefly. So again, we have those 2,550 day connections, from the graph 2014 to 2021, and then 2022 to 2029. That's the 2,550 day connections, those 2 periods of time. And you notice it lines up quite well with the Messiah's Jubilee. Again, this began June 7th, 1967, the middle of the summer. It's really amazing, just the connection here. So what is the Messiah's Jubilee? So Messiah's Jubilee is a Jubilee according to Leviticus chapter 25, 8 through 10. Let's pull that up. So let's go over this real quick. What is a Jubilee? Here it is. From Leviticus chapter 25, 8 through 9. And you shall count 7 Sabbath of years for yourself. So the Sabbath of years was what I call the Shemitah. Here's a Shemitah. This is another 7 years. This is year 14. This is year 21's Shemitah, and so on, until you get to 7 of them, which would be, this guy right here. That's the 7. It's also the 49th. Okay, so 7 times 7 years. And the time of the 7 Sabbath of years shall be to you 49 years. Again, here's the 49. You shall then sound a ram's horn to pass throughout the 10th day of the 7th month. So that is the month of Tishri. The 10th day is the 10th of Tishri, which is the Day of Atonement, or Yom Kippur, which I like to call it. I like to call it Yom Kippur. Cause a ram's horn to pass throughout all the land, and you shall set the 50th year apart and proclaim release throughout all the land. So it's this designated 1 year period of time. It's called the 50th year of Jubilee. So that's what basically, in a nutshell, what the Jubilee cycle is. Okay, let's continue. So the Messiah's Jubilee is in fact a Jubilee. That's why I named it Messiah's Jubilee. But it's a hidden Jubilee. It's a lunar Jubilee that began June 7th, 1967 and ended Yom Kippur 2015. Actually, that's when it started, the 50th year right here. So the 50th year is a year past that, just as a clarification here. So each week is different than this week here. We went over that on the last, we went over that in that this is a lunisolar week. A lunisolar week is 2,550 days, but a lunar week is 2,520 days. Okay, so that's from here to here. 2,520, 2,550. A difference of 30 days. 2,520 times 7 is 17,640. 49 years times 360 days, 17,640 days. And we have the Shemitah connections, the first Shemitah, second Shemitah, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and this is the 7th Shemitah. That would mean that the beginning of September 2021, Yom Teruah will represent the beginning of the 8th Shemitah, and then the ending of the 9th Shemitah will happen September 2029. I believe that the Shemitahs represent judgment. That's what Jonathan Kahn talks about, how these are in fact judgment Shemitahs, or judgment year periods of time. They represent judgment. I believe that this represents man's judgment, and this represents God's judgment, Elohim, right here. So if you'd like to get more information on the book, you can go to September2021.com. I have a lot of information there. I have a lot of free graphs that you get into. And before I go here, I want to show you the contents within the book. These are some of the main points of the book. And I get into, we briefly talked about it here. I really get into detail in the book. And the nice thing about it, the book is only $4.19. You can get on Amazon.com under the books. You can just go directly to my website, September2021.com, and there's a link directly to that, so you can buy that. Very inexpensive for what you get. And some of the highlights I want to go over, I talk about the 7 lunar month Shemitah cycle, the millennial Shemitah cycle, the fall feast day graphs explained for Christians. I could probably show you that now. We went over the Daniel chapter 12 formula, 1260 plus 1290 plus 1335 day connections. We went over the Jewish counter and the 5 appointed feast days in 2018, 21, and 26 in 2029. We went over, actually, we didn't even go over this. We didn't go over the 1967 and 2015 Tetra blood moons announced the Messiah's Jubilee. Let me just show that to you really quick, because that's really significant. That's really cool. It's really a great feature. So let me pull that graph up real quick. And here it is. You can see here the blood moon tetrads. You guys probably remember the blood moon tetrads. The 3 most significant tetrads happened in this past century. Happened in 1948, 1950, 1967, 1968, 2014, 2015. These are the most recent with it in this 67, 68. You can see the Passover. These are the blood moon dates right here. Passover 67, Tabernacles 67, Passover 67 or 68, and Tabernacles 1968. That lines up with these four right here. And then the 2014 Passover, 2014 Tabernacles 15, Passover 15, and then Tabernacles 15. Those are these right here. And I want to point out something that's really, really remarkable is that I have here titled "The Tetrad Blood Moons Announce the Messiah's Jubilee." And you can see how this pierces June 7th, 1967, pierces the first two set of blood moons. And then Yom Kippur 9/23/15 pierces the last two of the tetra blood moons. It's as if the Creator is putting parentheses around the Messiah's Jubilee, highlighting this unique lunar Jubilee, which I believe is prophetically a double prophetic fulfillment of the Daniel 7 weeks, 62 weeks, or 7 weeks plus 62 weeks. This is 62 weeks plus 7 weeks, which equals the beginning of the 70th week, if you do the math, and it adds up. Meaning that the beginning of the 7th Sabbath year of the 70th week will begin Yom Teruah 2021. That is a highly significant date. And then, of course, September 2029. Okay. And in the book, I get into this. I describe exactly the feast days, my opinion on what these represent. This is, again, fulfilled. This is still futured, 2 or 3 months away. This is September. This is May, September 2021, 2026, and this is 2029. Again, these are not my personal opinion. This is mathematical based on the formula that we went through. And just to wrap it up, this is my first book, September 2021. And Messiah's Jubilee is the second revision of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, September2021.com. Thanks for watching.